Heavy rains in Palestine worsen the critical humanitarian situation of displaced people, victims of Israeli attacks in the Gaza Strip. Venezuela described as an outburst the petition made by Guyana before the International Court of Justice seeking to prevent the holding of the referendum on the Essequibo. And in Ecuador, citizens organized a sit-in rally in rejection of the electricity cuts by the government of Guillermo Lasso. Hello, welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito in Ecuador. This is from the south. Heavy rains in Palestine are worsening the critical humanitarian situation of displaced people who have fallen victims to Israel's attacks on the Gaza Strip. The National Meteorological Department warned the region will be affected over the next few days by a low-pressure area accompanied by rain and will experience a drop in temperatures. In Palestine, more than 600,000 students have been unable to exercise the right to education due to the closure of schools and suspension of classes as a result of the Israeli siege against the Gaza Strip. In addition, the airstrikes and raids that Tel Aviv maintains against Palestine have prevented more than 1,700 teachers from arriving at educational centers. In New York, civil liberties group is suing Joe Biden and other government officials for allegedly failing in their duties under international and U.S. laws to prevent Israel from committing genocide in Gaza. The nonprofit legal organization Center for Constitutional Rights filed on behalf of several Palestinian organizations and individuals a lawsuit against the U.S. President and the Secretaries of State Antony Blinken and Defense Lloyd Austin. In the Netherlands, citizens took over the Amsterdam Schiphol International Airport in support of Palestine. According to local media, demonstrators took over the airport facilities to demand a ceasefire from Israel on the Gaza Strip while urging the international community to take action to stop the situation in Palestine, as well as Israeli forces continue to suffocate the citizens of Gaza through shelling, energy, and food blockades. It has been more than a month since the Israeli army began its attacks on the Gaza Strip, which have caused the death of more than 11,000 civilians. These attacks even target residential areas. Let's watch the report of our correspondent, Huda Higasi, on one of the latest attacks.
We found ourselves in front of the house of the family Abu Huda, one of the houses that have been shelled in a deliberate act here in the governorate of Khan Yunis. This house, which is right next to the Nasser hospital of this governorate, was shelled by the missiles of the Israeli occupation army. Approximately 2 a.m. when its inhabitants, the residents of this house, as well as the neighbors, were sleeping peaceful in their homes. We will now proceed to talk to one of the neighbors to tell us exactly what happened in this attack. Hello? Please, can you tell me what happened after this attack and where were you?
We were outside the house during the attack because this house was kind of targeted by the Israeli aggression. Without notice and without any warning, they shelled the houses. The shelling caused partial damage to this house, but other nearby houses were completely destroyed, and several martyrs and several wounded fell.
As we can see, it happened without warning. The planes of the occupation army proceed to attack this house, which we can see how it has been completely destroyed. In this attack, at least 3 Palestinians were killed. We were talking about a man and 2 of his children, one of them a kid. The house was shelled by 2 F-16 missiles. that have caused all this destruction. As we can see, the whole living room, the kitchen, the rooms, nothing have left in this place. The army of the Israeli occupation proceeded to bomb the entire house. Unfortunately, this attack took place in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., when the inhabitants were sleeping. Even the neighbors were terrified by the strong explosion, and the surrounding houses were partially damaged, as we can see. We are talking about a house that was inside a residential neighborhood where people were sleeping peacefully at long hours of the night. As I said, and yet the army of the Israeli occupation has proceeded to bomb it without warning. When this civilian population, innocent, was sleeping in their rooms, and unfortunately dozens of wounded have fallen due to the Israeli attack on residential homes.
The government of Belize announced on Tuesday a package of measures against the government of Israel for the genocide that Tel Aviv is carrying out against the citizens of the Gaza Strip. The measures include the withdrawal of consent for the accreditation of H.E. Einat Kranz-Niger, ambassador to Belize to the United Nations, Einat Kranz-Niger, and also the ambassador designate of Israel to Belize. The suspension of all activities of the honorary consulate of Israel in Belize and of Belize and Tel Aviv, and the appointment of the honorary consul, the withdrawal of the appointment of its honorary consul, and also the withdrawal of its application for the accreditation of Mr. Jonathan Enough as honorary consul of Belize. Belize renewed its call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, unimpeded access of humanitarian supplies to Gaza, and the release of all hostages. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Belize, Amon Courtenay, expressed on Tuesday in an interview with the press his concern about the situation in Palestine.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to stress that the primary concern of the government of Belize at the moment is for the people of Gaza, for the millions of people who have been subjected to unceasing and unrelenting bombing, for the people who have been denied food, who have been denied fuel, who have been denied medical supplies. We are concerned about the more than 11,000 people who have died and who have been killed, the majority being women and children.
And Belize's top diplomat reiterated his government's trust in the United Nations Charter and its conviction that the Middle East conflict must be resolved by and only the strict observance of the international law and the respect of human rights.
It is important for the government of Belize, a country that values international law. We have our existence due to the right to self-determination. We believe very strongly in the United Nations Charter. We believe that disputes must be settled according to international law, peacefully. We believe that when there is war, when there is civil strife, that the rules of law must be observed, that humanitarian law must be observed, and we see gross violations of that by Israel.
Welcome back. Venezuela described as an outburst the petition made by Guyana before the International Court of Justice seeking to prevent the holding of the referendum on the Essequibo. The executive vice president of Venezuela, TeleSUR Rodriguez, emphasized that her attendance to the court is to defeat the pretensions of Guyana's judicial colonialism by using the court to stop the unstoppable. The consultative referendum in territorial defense of the Essequibo, Guyana.
They have criminalized and paid immense sums of money to criminalize what has been the historical position of Venezuela on not submitting automatically and obligatorily this territorial dispute to the knowledge of the court. Why is that historical position? Because we have already come in 1899 from a fraud through an arbitral judgment, and Venezuela since then decided that the matters of the highest transcendence with its independence process as its territorial integrity, we would never submit them to third parties' decisions.
The Venezuelan National Assembly has called for a mobilization in defense of the consultative referendum on the Essequibo to be held on December the 3rd. During Tuesday's ordinary session, the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, called for a rally this Wednesday in the vicinity of the National Pantheon in the city of Caracas.
To the rejection of the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice over the affairs of Venezuela, the only one that Venezuela accepts, no other, is the Geneva Agreement of 1966. And yes, to our decision and our determination to advance in our demand for the rescue of our territory and the creation of the state of Guyana Essequibo.
In Ecuador, citizens organized a sit-in rally in rejection of the electricity cuts by the government of Guillermo Lasso. Demonstrators assured that the blackouts have caused millions of dollars in losses for the country and the citizenship in general. In this context, representatives of the commercial sector pointed out that the power outages caused losses of more than $18 million per day.
All these power cuts are damaging to the country, to business, to productivity, to medium-sized companies, to people like us who also live from day to day, who produce our own things, who are affected by these power cuts, and our electricity bills will go up even more. Besides the fact that they cut our energy and we cannot produce as we should, there will be an increase. So, where are we going to pay from?
For a fair cause, we have come here to claim the rights that we have as Ecuadorians, especially how much we're losing with the power cuts. It is not possible that also under this pretext, they want to raise the energy to the Ecuadorians, especially in the countryside.
The international delegation gives full support to the President of the Republic of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, in her struggle to ratify the derogation of the SEDE and refound the country. The international mission, with the participation of diplomats, parliamentarians, and analysts, concluded to offer their support to President Xiomara Castro after investigating the situation in Honduras with diverse social sectors. In this context, the Deputy of Colombia, Maria Fernanda Carrascal, during the reading of the resolution expressed that allies from all over the world should be summoned to contribute to the defense for the democratic reformation of Honduras.
We agreed to build the international movement for Honduras in resistance, to bring together allies from all over the world to contribute to the current struggle for the democratic refoundation of Honduras. To accompany Honduras in the temporary presidency of CELAC, support the government of President Xiomara Castro to take advantage of the opportunity of her presidency of CELAC 2024, to forge a new agenda for Latin American sovereignty, spread the spirit of resistance around the world, learn from the example of the government in resistance of President Xiomara Castro, and maintain the international dialogue.
Brazil's President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva called on the people of Argentina to exercise their right to vote in the ballot on Sunday, November 19th.
I would just like to ask the Argentinian people that when the time comes to vote, think of Argentina. Your vote is sovereign, but think a little bit. What kind of South America do you want to make? What Latin America do you want to build? What kind of Mercosur do you want to create? Together we will be strong. Divided, we're weak.
Brazilian presidents also indicated that it was necessary to have a president who likes South America and thinks about the creation of a bloc in the region.
To achieve that, we need a president who likes democracy, who respects the institutions, who likes Mercosur, who likes South America, and who thinks about the creation of an important bloc. Today, the world is divided into blocs, the European bloc and the Asian bloc. We have to create our own bloc to negotiate commercially with the rest of the world.
We're taking our last break now. Join us again after this, but also don't forget to visit us on our YouTube channel for more news. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Tuesday reiterated his pledge not to invade neighboring nations over the Red Sea, but insisted that his government would not abandon its demand for port access. Abiy's remarks last month about the Red Sea raised regional concerns, particularly as tensions emerged with neighboring Eritrea, which has a long coastline. In a televised speech on October 13th, Abiy said that landlocked Ethiopia is a nation whose existence is tied to the Red Sea. And Mali's military has seized control of the northern town of Kidal, marking the first time the army has held the Tuareg rebel stronghold in nearly a decade. State broadcaster ORTM reported on Tuesday journalist Ibrahim Traore read a message from the president of the transition of the Malian people, who said that the armed and security forces have seized Kidal and that the mission is not over. Mohammed Madul Ramadan, a rebel spokesman based in neighboring Mauritania, confirmed the presence of the Malian military in Kidal. On Tuesday, Nigeria's two largest labor unions, the Labor Congress and the Trade Union Congress, declared an indefinite strike nationwide. Despite government claims that the economic measures are necessary for financial stability and the financial social projects, the unions are maintaining the work stoppage despite a recent court order seeking to prevent it. In Iceland, at least 3,000 citizens evacuated due to intense seismic activities in Reykjanes Peninsula. After days of relentless damage in the city of Grytavik in the southwest of the country, citizens were evacuated as precautionary measure due to the volcanic eruption warnings. And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. But before saying goodbye, we want to thank, as always, our Caribbean audience, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscast and contribute to providing an alternative news source of the latest in the world. You can find these and other stories on our website at TeleSUREnglish.net and also on our social media on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Estefania Bravo. See you next time.